All right, we're back for another episode of PFREI, a passion for real estate investments. I'm your host, Fuquan Bilal, and today I have a guest with me, Joel Markovitz. He's an asset manager in the note industry. We actually had a lot of times that we spent together in my earlier years when I first got into the space, learned a lot from Joel, helped me navigate through a lot of situations with loan servicing and asset management. And Joel's here today to talk to us a little bit about the industry, what's happening in note investing in the marketplace. So just give a little bit about your background and how did you get involved in notes, and then we'll just jump right into it. We'll talk about the current marketplace. Everybody's saying pricing, inventory, and I'm pretty sure you're hearing things of that nature.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I really got into the mortgage space back in, actually 10 years ago, May 29th, 2009.
Okay.
I had a friend of mine who had a loss mitigation company, and he had just signed up Citi. Everything was going, exploding. The economy was bottoming out, and he was getting 20 to 40,000 files a month from Citi to do outreach on. And one of the challenges that you had at that point in time is there was a lot of reporting that had to take place with the government. So he needed somebody to come in and run his quality control department. And so he came to me, and we talked probably over about, I was looking for a change. We probably talked over a 6-month period, and eventually I went to work for Mortgage Outreach Services. We had offices in Glen Allen, Virginia, and in Irvine. Okay. I had 16 people working for me, and what we did is we looked at the contracts that we would have with different entities like Citi and Genworth and Nation Star, and at the time Saxon, which eventually got absorbed by Ocwen, and PMI and Radian, and we worked for all of them. And so my job was to make sure that we were in compliance on CFPB type items, pre-CFPB, which was the FDCPA.
That's Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. He's done a lot of
stuff. And FDCPA is Fair Debt Collections Practices Act. And then also monitoring phone calls, making sure that what we were reporting was accurate, because then they would take that reporting and provide it to the government, because they were taking money from the federal government. And so that's kind of was my initial foray into the mortgage space. We did that, and eventually I went to run operations, which Mortgage Outreach Services became NewView, and I ran operations in Irvine. We had about 240 people in our call center, and then eventually I started just naturally gravitating, because I was always talking to clients, and eventually talked to them. I started doing some business development. One day someone came to us and they said, well, we have 300 loans, we'd like you to work them out. And so we started diving in, and they were explaining the notes. These were notes. And now the real advantage for me at the time was the fact when you work with these large governmental or banks or governmental agencies, because we did stuff with Fannie and Freddie, there was a ton of reporting around it. You had to work probably 6 to 8 months just to get the program off the ground. You had to do RFPs. You had to provide them with SLAs and compliance type items and insurance. That investor with those 300 loans, they cared about one thing:
the payment.
How quickly can we either get that property back, or how quickly can we get a payment going? Yeah. And that kind of introduced me to the note space, and eventually that client introduced me to Eddie Speed and other people in the industry, and all of a sudden it was like, this is a lot easier than spending 6 to 9 months working with SunTrust Bank to get a program off the ground, and then all of a sudden the guy who was running it decides to leave. Yeah. And then you're at ground zero. So that was kind of my introduction to the note space, and we eventually changed our business model where we would work with different individual investors with servicing and loss mitigation. Loss mitigation has always been kind of like the nuts and bolts of what I did.
Yeah. So through all those relationships and resources and everything through your journey, it actually helps you as well as be like a deal connector. So you also connect people if they're looking for assets, and certain individuals of assets that you're managing may be looking to sell. You get the opportunity to put the buyer and seller together and create that relationship. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, one of the things, and this kind of happened organically, which is one of the things my dad has a philosophy that he talked to me and my sister and I about years ago, is like, you never know about life what's right around the corner. I didn't see this coming. I didn't see myself kind of getting into the space, or that it even existed. But one of the things that would happen when you started to talk to people is they would say, well, can you help me work out these loans that I bought? And eventually they would get them, we would get them reperforming, or they would become an REO, or they would just say, okay, I would want to sell off this portion of my portfolio, and I would, do you know anybody who would be interested in it? I said, well, yeah, I have a client who just said to me that they were looking for some portfolio, and so that's kind of where the matchmaking came into place.
Yeah.
And eventually things evolve, and we've, you know, over time, you just kind of organically, it grows organically, or it did for me at least organically. And you have to kind of go back to the times that we were in. This was 2011, 12, 13, 14. The economy was still on the low end. You had people coming into the market, institutions were trying to get paper off their books. And then you had people who were saying, well, I want to be in the first space, I want to be in the second space, I like performing, I like non-performing. So there was a lot going on. I kind of liken it to when you go back and they talk about Los Angeles in the 70s with rock and roll.
Yeah.
My parents moved us here, not later part, but I would walk down the street and I'd run into people, you know, Don Henley from the Eagles, and
Wow.
I was in Westwood one day and Bruce Springsteen walked in. So it was kind of like that because it was just kind of free flowing. And so that the industry obviously has matured over time, and some people have gotten out and become more sophisticated. I think people today have to run their businesses in a much more business-like manner.
No more Wild Wild West.
Right. Well,
so let's talk about that a little bit, the state of the industry today, because I came in the market, I first discovered the business in 2011. In 2012, I invested my own capital in the mortgage note space. 2013, I opened a fund so I can get a bigger discount, and just evolved from there. And you and I had met in those early years, and you know that it was like the Wild Wild West. So now it's more compliance driven. And like you said, a lot of people have moved out the space because those were the guys that were chasing yields instead of looking at something for long-term cash flow. So let's talk a little about that. What do you see? Where do you see the market at right now, from being in this space for 10 years, from where it's at with pricing to where it's at now, and just the opportunities that are still available out there? Are you seeing opportunities out there? Is the market over? Should everybody go back to trying to do something else?
Right.
Talk about that a little bit.
Well, January 14th, 2014 is a big day. And that was the day when the CFPB, Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, put all these different regulations into place. At the time, there was 987 pages of regulations for consumer debt. It was, and if you ask, well, can you give me a summary? It was a 97-page summary. So it still was, you know, a lot to digest, but that changed everything because, as you know, in the second space, if the collateral files were kind of hit and miss, did you have, you know, assignments and allonges? All of that changed in 2014 on that date because it required servicers to have these documents in order to substantiate the debt. So the market itself started really evolving at that point in time. And you can kind of draw a line to where we are today by pricing has changed. Back in, I remember someone coming to me with a portfolio of non-performing Michigan first mortgages, and they wanted 18 cents for it. And people were saying, wow, that's really expensive. Florida was going for in the 20s, and these were first. Yeah. So as we know today, that market has changed, or the pricing has changed.
Yeah.
I believe, and I always have believed, that assets are individuals. Even though we're trying to scale and we're trying to do a lot of interesting things with it, each asset is different. It's a different location, it's a different borrower, it's a different credit score, it's a different UPB, it's a different value. Each one's different, and you have to look at them differently. Yeah. You can, as a whole, you can kind of group it and make a generalization, but as generalizations are only as good as the foundation that they're presented on, and that's really knowing what's in those loans. Yeah,
they all have individual exit strategies, and every bar is different. Every human being is different. So you never know how that situation is going to work out. So I always tell people, you know, because people always ask me, hey, especially real estate people converting over to the note business, they look at it as the property, when it's more than that. It's the borrower. So,
well, yeah, the genesis of everything is the borrower. I have had real estate agents, friends, who say, what do you do? And I start to explain to them, and these are real estate agents. They go, what do you mean about the note?
Yeah.
So not everybody gets it. It's kind of an abstract concept. When I've spoken to groups over the years, the people that get it, the fastest and the quickest usually are people who have some form of engineering or math foundation, because it's about the numbers. These are squares. These aren't rounds. They're not circles. Or this is a square. The numbers tell you the story, and so you kind of gravitate to it. And the market changes, but it doesn't. It means that you have to be more efficient. The changes in the economy, and there was years ago in the garment industries, people, they got a hot style and they produced tons of it, and they had tons of inventory. Well, recessions come or the changes in marketplace, and you can't afford to have that. So it forces people to be more efficient, and that's exactly what the changing in prices and the pricing and the market itself has forced us to be, is more efficient. Yeah. And putting systems into place and having an opportunity to work with different vendors and figuring out what your biggest strength is. Where is my time best spent? Is it best spent looking for assets? Is it best spent doing due diligence? Is it best spent looking for capital? Or is it best spent making phone calls? I'm going to tell you that I think your time is not best spent making phone calls. I believe to make your business more efficient, you have to have a series of vendors or alliances.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that people would say to me over the years is, well, no one's going to care about my loans the same way that I am. And that's true.
Yeah.
But you have to balance that out with the fact that, how do I scale this business? How do I grow this business? Or what you don't want to do is, a shark has to continue to move.
Yeah, you can't be the solo practitioner, because you can't scale, like you said, if you're doing everything yourself. Well, we all get caught up in that, trying to make sure that no one else can do it like I do it. Sometimes I find myself getting caught up in that as well. But, learning how to delegate, outsource, and use systems for leverage definitely will help you scale. So, basically we was just talking a little bit before the interview, and you were saying that you just got a raise, and I was chuckling at that. I said, you just got a raise, aren't you like, your own boss? And he was like, well, my son is graduating from college, and so you're pretty excited about that. Like, how is it? Well, let me go back to the question I usually ask all the guests. Why are you passionate about real estate investing? Like note investing, anything that's related to real estate?
My mother was an underwriter. And so when I got into this space, I kind of had an idea about it, but I really didn't, I didn't really fully grasp it. The thing I love about real estate is real estate to me is a lifestyle, meaning it affords you a lifestyle. Not dollars and cents lifestyle, but it gives you if you want to work 20 hours a week, great. If you want to work 90 hours a week, great. Dan Zatowski gave me a book called Life and Air. I don't know if you've read it or seen it, but basically it's not about being a millionaire, but about your life and how to value your life. And so real estate gives you a lifestyle. It gives you the lifestyle that if you work hard enough and you be most efficient, how you can then enjoy that lifestyle. Can I spend more time with my family? And we talk a lot about our kids. And my son played sports for all the way through high school, and he played 2 sports all the way through in high school. And I'm proud of the fact that I only missed 1 game.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm the same. We got to make all the games and everything. So that's why I was chuckling when you say you just got a raise, because that part that's the last one that's in college too, right?
No,
so
I have to pay this semester, and now all of a sudden I can start digging out.
And it was funny because I was asking him, he said his son said he's going on a trip to Hawaii, and once he found out that he got it all covered, him and his buddies are going. He said, "What do you think about Hawaii, Dad?" He said, "Oh, you got it." What did he say? He said,
I said to him, I think it's a fantastic trip as long as you can pay for it, because I wasn't.
So that's awesome. But yeah, I appreciate you coming through and, sharing your value with the listeners. This is something that we structured. The original concept of this, and we're still sticking to the main core of it, was really to bring service providers like yourself, SEC attorneys, lawyers, and everybody else to really add value and bring content. Because a lot of these social media platforms have people, on Facebook talking about joint ventures or giving legal advice and all other stuff. And I'm like, wait, time out. We need to actually do something about this and try to create a podcast, a series where people that's if they're lawyers or whatever can come on and really give information, accountants that people can get from professionals. So in addition to that, we bring investors like myself and other people and service providers like yourself on and share the services that you provide and also your journey in the space. So I thank you for coming on and sharing with the audience, your what you're doing in space and value. So tell the people how they can get in contact with you or whatever to see how you can provide service to them or add value to.
Sure. And I appreciate it. One of the things that getting together with like-minded people in the industry is you find a lot of really good people. I mean, ultimately, they're good people, and I think I'm a fan of collaboration. You can always get a hold of me at the email address, J Markovitz, MARKOVITZ, at Talon, TALON, CAP, CAP, Partners, PARTNERS.com. I also have an email at Joel at dsingerlawgroup.com.
Okay, awesome. It's a great episode, another great episode of PFREI, Passion for Real Estate Investments. Thank you for coming through, blessing the podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we out. That's it. Like us on YouTube. Instagram is @Passion4REI, and Twitter is @Passion4REI. Catch you guys at the next episode.